Hi, welcome back. We're currently installing WordPress somewhere so that we can develop it into our starter site. You have two basic choices for where to have your starter site. There's local, meaning on your own computer, and there's remote hosting, meaning on the hosting package that you maybe also use to host your live websites. Let's look at local first. Now, I used to highly recommend creating your starter site locally and, in fact, develop new sites on your own computer too. At first glance, seems like it'll be quicker and easier. Everything's on your own computer, you don't have to mess about setting sites up in your hosting package. And of course, if you regularly work on websites without an internet connection, then being able to work on your own WordPress, on your own computer can be very handy. Now, there are several ways you can work with WordPress locally with apps like Local by Flywheel, which is free for PC and Mac. It has a lovely interface and is really easy to use, but it can be very buggy. There's Desktop Server, free for PC and Mac, but also a paid version. And this is rock solid performance wise, but it's very ugly and not an especially nice experience to use. And then there's MAMP. They have a free and paid version as well, again for PC and Mac. And MAMP is a bit more techy, but is generally pretty stable. So you just install one of them and start working on new WordPress sites on your own computer. Of course, when a site is ready to go live, you still have to transfer it over to your hosting package. You can't host live sites on your own computer. You can only work on them. Seems perfect, right? These days, I generally recommend against developing WordPress locally from my own experience, colleagues' experience, and the experience of hundreds of my students. There are two main reasons, really. One, local development apps can be very buggy. Now, some are more buggy than others. Local by Flywheel is the worst for this. But there isn't a single local development app I've used that hasn't seriously crashed out and destroyed my work and sanity at some point and lost me a lot of time. And second, it's not straightforward to allow others to access the site while you're working on it, like clients, co-workers, freelancers. You have to somehow send the site up to a live server so that they can see it. And then when you've made lots of changes, send that all back again to your local machine. Local by Flywheel tries to solve this problem with its live link feature. Now that makes your computer into a little temporary web server and it gives you a link to give to clients. It's a nice idea, but there are two problems. That link expires pretty quickly, which is a total pain. And background images that you might add to your Elementor pages, your layouts, won't be visible on the live link. They'll just be blank spaces. Now that's actually kind of Elementor's fault. Because of the way that Elementor handles background images, it's not actually local by Flywheel's fault, but it's a big problem, whoever's fault it is. I'm not saying local development is wrong, it just has several limitations and it can often be more hassle than it's worth. Now, the alternative is to host your starter site and develop new sites from it on your hosting package, like SiteGround or Flywheel or Cloudways. Now, I'm going to especially recommend Cloudways in a moment for a ton of reasons. But developing new sites on your hosting package is at least as good as local, but with some significant advantages over local too. You can use the same hosting package that you host your live sites on as well. Here are the advantages. WordPress sites on your hosting generally don't crash, you don't lose a ton of work for seemingly no reason, they're not buggy. You're using the same system that's designed to host rock solid live websites to host your starter site and development sites too. Second, with many hosts, you can create as many WordPress sites as you like in your account, often with one click. And Cloudways is especially brilliant for this. Three, having other people view the site in development or work on the site with you is incredibly easy. It's just there, it's online. There's no need for constant importing and exporting and sending the site backwards and forwards. No issues with background images in Elementor, things like that. 4. On many hosts, creating new sites from your starter site is a doddle. In Cloudways, you just clone your starter site installation with one click to create a new site from it each time you have a new project. It takes seconds. So much easier than the alternative I used to teach. And 5, One issue used to be you'd have to mess about creating a new subdomain first to put the new development site on it. Well, that's not hard, but it is time consuming. Now, with modern hosts like Cloudways, each new WordPress site that you create comes with its own URL for development purposes. Okay, it's usually not a very pretty URL, but when a site is in development or it's just your starter site, that's not an issue. No need to mess about creating subdomains to develop new sites before they go live. Just get started right away. It's beyond easy. And then you just point the live domain to the site when it's ready to go live. So, in summary, you have two main options for where you create and maintain your starter site, either locally, using an app like Local by Flywheel, or on your remote hosting package like SiteGround or Cloudways or Flywheel. Now, in the next lesson, in this module, lesson 3, I'll show you how to create your starter site installation on a remote hosting package. In the main video, I'll show you how to do this on Cloudways. I make no apologies, I will be seriously recommending them as a hosting provider because they have several big advantages over any other host I've used in 20 years of building websites, especially for this method of using a starter site. Under that video, on the same page on that lesson, I'll have an alternative lesson if your host uses cPanel, which is an incredibly popular hosting control panel used by thousands of hosting companies like SiteGround, for example. And if you want to go the local development route, no worries. Sometimes I just develop sites locally anyway, especially quick test sites that no one else is going to need access to. So in lesson 4 in this module, I have a video on how to use Local by Flywheel to house your starter site and develop locally on your own machine. But no matter whether you go the local route or the remote hosting route, by the end of this module, the end result is you'll have a fresh installation of WordPress for your starter site, ready to develop it further in the rest of this course. So next, let's look at how to create our starter site remotely. I'll see you there.